Headlines. Earlier today, Deputy Chief Medical Officer Dr. Philip Swan talked about issues that are happening around the region, including the Bahamas, and he said that measles and polio are on the rise in the region, and that includes the Bahamas, suggesting that parents now are not vaccinating their kids. Of course, you know, the whole drive towards let's do it natural, let's forsake vaccines, etc. And while I support natural health and it's beneficial, quite beneficial, what do officials need to do? And this is a question to the Hot Topics panelist. What do they need to do to drive home the point that these vaccines that happen and have been happening for decades during childhood are still important for their child's health? Welcome to Beyond the Headlines, our contributor, Cassius Stewart. Cassius, thank you very much for being here.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely, my pleasure as well. But this is concerning because while a lot of push is towards natural, is to sort of be very wary of vaccines, these ones, though, have been around for decades.
Yes.
And to see numbers spiking of polio and measles, etc., and I guess other sort of conditions like that were around for decades and they're spiking again. What do officials need to do to kind of like, hey, wait a minute, guys, I know what y'all thinking, but you need to get your kids vaccinated?
Yeah. I think, initially we had these vaccines were mandatory from infancy when you're born up to, I think, a certain age level. Mm-hmm. So every year you would take your child to get a certain vaccine. I know we did it for our children. I think now we are in a different dispensation with vaccine. I think there's a great distrust with vaccines across the board, not only in the Caribbean, across the world now, because this issue with the COVID issue, and people don't know whether or not it's legit, whether you can trust it. And so, but we've been vaccinated for many, many, many years against polio, smallpox, measles, and so on and so on. And we've managed to beat those viruses for a long time.
For the longest while.
For the longest time. And, I guess we have never seen somebody with polio in our modern times, but if you see somebody with polio, you'll go get vaccinated right away, because that disease is very, very, very disabling, and it's not a good sign. And so I think, though, they have to engender a degree of trust, because, when you see Dr. Fauci being grilled by different congressmen, and there's different variation in his speech about vaccination and who's getting royalties for pushing third and fourth vaccination.
People really distrust the establishment nowadays,
yes,
in terms of pharmaceuticals. They really do.
Because, first and second vaccine was fine, but when you start the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, it becomes, who's getting the royalties for making sure that these be pushed. And so, of course, now that is the major issue right now. And so even though
we're talking about vaccines that have been made decades ago, Cassius, that you took, I took, everybody we know took, just to ward off like these issues that you talked about. People are even wary of those?
People are wary of vaccines in general. And so I think we need to go back to find a way to engender trust among its citizenry, our citizenry, to let them know I know one time ago we used to play videos or on TV about polio and so on and so on, and how the disease affects the body. We've never seen that, and most people perhaps only heard polio because somebody talked about it, but you've never seen how these diseases really disable and dismantles people's health. And so I think, though, the Ministry of Health has a lot of work to do. No fault of their own.
No.
But it's an international issue now with distrust for vaccines. And, what are you pumping in my body? Will it have a negative effect? And so on and so on. I've been vaccinated against polio and all those other stuff. And we've managed as a region to really beat those viruses over the last 20, 30, 40 years. And so I think we need to continue. But
I think from our grandparents or even great-grandparents era, we've managed to sort of wipe it out as the decades passed by, and to hear that they are now on the increase, I just hope they don't manifest as you're saying, that people really see that, wait a minute, we should have made a different decision.
So I think the Ministry of Health needs to do a more educational program about each individual virus and what the vaccine would do. And they could perhaps create, like we used to do a long time ago, animations and from POW and so on, because I think that the public needs to be educated. Whether or not they will respond positively is another story. But I think it's a step in the right direction. People make decisions when they have information. And if they have the right information, then more than likely they'll make the right decisions.
So start from scratch again.
Yes, all over again. But like I said, it's no fault of any governments in the region.
It's just where the world is at right now, and obviously the region as well.
The world the vaccine companies made billions and trillions of dollars in the last 2 years. It became a money thing. And while it's always a money thing, you have to really look at now, will this one be life-saving? We got to show them that it's not about money for this one, it's life-saving, because really nobody really makes money, because you go to a doctor and all those medications are free. Those medications are really not that expensive because there's not a heavy demand on it, and so it's not really that expensive. Government buys them and distributes them to all the clinics, and so you go to any clinic and get your vaccination.
Please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also follow our TikTok account. Thanks.